Welcome, AJ. Today we have AJ Vaden with us. AJ is the co-founder and CEO of Brand Builders Group. She's an international speaker, million-dollar producer, and co-host of the influential Personal Brand podcast. As a personal brand strategist, she challenges and inspires people to reinvent themselves as part of building and monetizing their personal brand. Today, we're going to take a look at how, as consumers, employees, and employers, personal branding is now a fundamental part of how we make decisions. It's both directly and increasingly linked to effective marketing, professional credibility, and trustworthiness. And the data shows that an established personal brand also leads to increased profitability. So in this session, AJ will present relevant case studies with actionable steps that will empower you guys to up-level your marketing and communication. And she'll share with you the inside track on marketing strategies you should be investing time, money, and resources in right now. As a reminder, this is an interactive session. So if you look at the bottom of the screen, you'll see the chat button. Most of y'all have already discovered that. And the Q&A button, we encourage you to use those throughout to ask questions or comment anytime you have a question for AJ. Without further ado, I'm going to hand it over.
Yes, thank you. And thanks everyone for being here today. I'm going to try to keep this about 45 to 50 minutes, and then we'll reserve a little time for Q&A at the end. So I'm going to forewarn you, I'm not going to be handling the chat up until about 10 minutes before, but I would encourage you to put questions in the chat. So in that last 10 minutes, if you've already forgotten what your question is, then it's documented right there, and we'll cover all of that in the last 10 minutes. Now, I appreciate good introductions. However, 99% of the time, they don't really tell the full picture. And so I have lots of titles, but I figured I would start by sharing some of the most important titles to me, as this is all about our conversation today. So let me just start with a little bit of who I am, because if you're going to spend the next 45 minutes listening to me, you should know a little bit about me. So first and foremost, I have the most important title for my current life right now is MOM, mom. I get to be the mom of two awesome little humans. This is my 6-year-old Jasper James Vaden. A little bit about my kids, because I think this will be really important for you to help to get to know who I am. Jasper is also known as what we call in our house, Jasanova. He was born a romantic. He literally came out of the womb with a passion for love and the ladies. In fact, my husband was putting him down for bed a couple of months ago. And this just gives you some of the just insight into the sweetness that is his soul. And my husband was teaching him the Lord's Prayer. So they've been learning prayers at night. And Jasper asked my husband, he said, well, Dad, where does God live? Like, where is he? And my husband said, buddy, he lives right here. And he kept patting his chest. And Jasper looks at him real intently and pauses and said, God lives in your nipple? So that is a little bit just about the sweetness. That is my 6-year-old. He is kind and empathetic and thoughtful, and the complete opposite of my 3-year-old. This is my 3-year-old, Liam Kingston Vaden. He is straight out of Animal House. He is a frat boy stuck in a toddler's body. He is the opposite of my 6-year-old in every sense of the word. I never knew what it meant to have a toddler until I had my second son, Liam. I did not experience that with my first child. But Liam is equally as sweet, but in the wildest, craziest way possible. And we had the opposite thing happen to us at our house. My husband usually puts my kids to bed, but I was putting them to bed one night, and they were being crazy people, as often small children are. And I slammed the door and I was like, this night is done. We are over. And I stormed away. And before I even hit the stairs, I was like, oh man, that's bad parenting. I can't end the night like this. That's not good. So I tiptoed back up to the door to hear what they were doing. And they didn't say anything. And I opened the door and they were just sitting there looking at each other. So I walked in and I sat down and I said, hey guys, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry that I lost my temper, and I was trying to justify it, which is never good with toddlers. And I sit down and I just said, can we all start over? Mommy is so sorry. I lost my temper. I won't do it again. And my 3-year-old scoots close to me, looks me straight in the eyes, and he said, it's okay, Mommy. You lost your temper. You can have mine. Although they are wild and crazy, I am really fortunate that I've got little humans who love me and who love what we do as a family. So there's a little bit about my people. So I am a mom. I also get to be the wife of my awesome business partner. This is my husband, Rory Vaden. He is incredible. We have been business partners longer than we have been married. And I think the biggest feat of all is that after 2 businesses, 17 years together, almost 14 years married, and creating 2 tiny humans, we still really like each other. So that's our biggest accomplishment to date, is we truly enjoy each other in and outside of work, which is an added bonus for us. I also get to be the CEO of this awesome company, Brand Builders Group. I'm the co-founder along with my husband and CEO of Brand Builders Group. Here's a picture of all of my adult children, also known as employees. But this is our amazing team. We are so lucky to get to do what we do, which is ultimately why I'm here today and why you're here today. Because what we do at Brand Builders Group is we help experts, right? So that's coaches, consultants, speakers, authors, entrepreneurs, but people who have a unique expertise. We help them become more well-known in the marketplace. And we do that by helping them build influential personal brands. And so for the next 40 minutes, that's what we're going to do today, is we're going to talk about what does that look like and how do you do it in today's market? So I'm going to start with a question. You don't have to necessarily raise your hand and say this out loud, but I would encourage you to write this down and or put it in the chat. So when you think about personal branding specifically, I'm curious to know, it's like, how do you define a brand? So what is a brand to you? So think about that for a second. I just encourage you to jot it down, because in a few minutes, we're going to talk about a national research study that we conducted. In fact, it was the first ever national research study done on the state of personal branding. And we did that entire study to answer this one question. Now, we found out so much more, but what we wanted to know is, what is a brand in today's economy, in today's marketplace, with the digital ecosystem that we're living in, with the emergence now of AI, but in the way that we live, work, communicate, buy, sell, what is a brand? Because everyone defines it just a little bit differently. And here's what we came out of this study with, and the heart of what we do at Brand Builders Group is that we ultimately define a brand at Brand Builders Group. It's very simple. It's just what people think about when they think of you. That is a brand. It's what people think about when they think of you. That should right there change the thought and the patterns of how you think about your business. If nothing else, if you don't understand that a brand is what people think about when they think of you, because there's another word that's synonymous with that, and I'll share it with you in a second, but this is the heart of marketing, of branding, specifically personal branding in business today. So then the question remains is, ultimately then, what do people think about when they think of you? And is it what you want them to think of when they think of you? When they think of you, do they think of you as the go-to person for your industry or your space? Do they think of you as it relates to your business, your products, and your services? When they think of you, do they think of trust, integrity, credibility, quality? Do they think of you in a personal sense, a professional sense? But what do people think of when they think of you? And that takes intentionality. And the truth is, most of us haven't spent near as much time answering that question as we have trying to figure out how to do different business things and how to become, more well-known in the marketplace through different, could be ad spend and marketing tactics, versus focusing on what do just people think of when they think of me? And is it what I want them to think of? In fact, personal branding, it's not new. This has been around for hundreds, thousands of years, in fact. And in fact, I'm going to share an example of, although the terminology is new, the words personal branding are newer. The genesis of that is not new. In fact, I'm going to share 2 pictures right now, and I just want you to put them in the chat. Who are these people? Right? So first picture, again, you should know who this is. Put it in the chat. So who is this? Right? You haven't already figured it out, right? This is Mother Teresa. I didn't have to put her name up here. I didn't have to give you a background bio. For the most part, you know who she is just by looking at this picture. So then my second question for you is, what do you think of when you think of Mother Teresa? And I bet most people would say, I think of compassion, empathy, service, right? Faith, right? Church, religion, whatever it may be. But most people have some sort of thought that is naturally associated with Mother Teresa, mostly positive, I would imagine. And you see, she built this personal brand way before the internet or social media or AI. Like, this was already established. And in fact, we still know of her and her personal brand way after she has even passed. This didn't take an internet or ad spend or social media to become established with a personal brand. Now, I'm going to give you one more picture because it goes both ways, right? There can be positive association, as we all know, but equally the opposite. So who is this? Right? This is Adolf Hitler. So same question. What do you think of when you think of Adolf Hitler? I would imagine that for most of you, it's the opposite of Mother Teresa. It's probably way more negative. It's genocide, murder, hate, evil. Those would be the similar words that you would say are synonymous with this individual. Same thing though, right? Both of them have equally well-known personal brands. You both know who they are without me having to tell you. They have both made a name for themselves in two completely different respects. However, both of them did it without the current state of marketing. Because, the truth is, I mentioned this earlier, this term personal branding is new, but really personal branding, truly, and proof in these two individuals is just another word for reputation. Personal branding and reputation are the same thing. And the truth is that for most businesses today, a lack of revenue is not your biggest problem. A lack of reputation tends to be the biggest problem in business today. And that is why we did this national research study, because we believe that the trends, and these are trends, not fads, right? The statistics, the studies, these are trends towards the way that people are buying, selling, interacting, communicating, both personally and professionally. They are changing, and the future of business and how we do business is here. And much of it has to do with this underlying currency of reputation, of are you who you say you are? And do you do what you say you're going to do? And how can I have third-party validation and social proof to verify those things before I give you my money? That is the future of how we're doing business. And in fact, we spent 9 months doing this national research study, all weighted to the US Census. And this is not something we did with Facebook or a survey in our backyard. That's not what we did. We hired a third party, a firm, the Center for Generational Kinetics, to split this study by the generations to go, how does this trend both currently and what is it going to look like for the next 30 years? And here are the 3 biggest insights that you need to walk away with from this study. The first one is that truly personal branding is the future of marketing. In fact, Gen Z, which is the forthcoming generation, the generation that will have the majority of consumer spending power in the next 30 years, they said that to them, personal branding is not a thing of vanity or popularity, but it is a critical and essential part of how they work, learn, and interact on a daily basis. The idea of having an established personal brand, someone that they see, know, like, trust, learn from, is an essential part of just how they do life. Let that sink in for a second, right? Second really important thing is that you will find in this study is that Americans said they are more likely to buy from, recommend, and do business with an individual, not a company, an individual who has an established personal brand. Look at the numbers here. 63% said, if you have an established personal brand that I can find, get to know, and learn from digitally, I'm more likely to buy from you, recommend you, do business with you, seek advice from you. But that is a really important component of this, and most important to millennials and then Gen Z. Second is that personal branding is actually extremely and highly profitable. Now, some of the stats behind this, I think, are really important for business owners today, is that 58% of Americans said they are not willing just to spend money with you, but spend more money with you if you do not work at a large company, but instead have an established personal brand that they know and trust. That's the established part. That's extraordinary. The trends are literally going, I don't want to work for a person who sits behind the name or the logo of a big company or big entity. I want to be able to do business with someone who I can know on a familiar basis, someone that I like, share values with, but it's someone who I can relate to, not just a big company. And I'm willing to spend more money with you if you can provide that to me. Then 67% of Americans said they're more willing to spend their money on products and services from companies where the founders, they have a personal brand, aligns with their own personal values. Now, I know all of us are going, well, duh. But the key to this is going, how many of you are sharing your personal values and an intentional marketing focus to attract clients, buyers, consumers, right? How many of you are going, I'm going to use this as a marketing strategy. I'm going to give more of who I am. I'm going to tell people more of what I believe, share more of my values, not just in a mission statement or in, facts about our company, but with who I am. Because the more that we do that, the more I will find alignment or misalignment, but alignment with the right audience that I want to do business with. And consumers are saying, that's what we want too. And if I can find those people, I'll spend more money with them because I already know that there is a baseline, a foundation, that we have common thoughts, values, and beliefs. That is incredible. That is the heart of personal branding. That is showcasing your reputation in a digitized and intentional way, right? And then the third thing, which is to me the most important and where the underlying currency lies in all of this and why personal branding is so important, is that it's a trust accelerator. At the end of the day, building your personal brand, having someone be able to find you online and offline, the association of what do people think of when they think of you, all of that leads to being able to create and establish trust faster with prospects, clients, team members, employees. This leads to better conversion ratios, higher retention, less attrition. And who doesn't want that? 3/4, almost 75% of Americans said they are more likely to trust you if you have an established personal brand. And then the largest statistic of all in this entire study said that 82% of Americans agree that companies are more influential if their executives have a personal brand that they know and follow. Now, to give you a quick high-level example of companies who have thrived because of the personal brand of their founder, leaders, executives, I would say when you think about Apple, I bet you also think of somewhere in the back of your mind, Steve Jobs. I know when I think about Spanx, I think of Sarah Blakely first. I actually think of Sarah Blakely, then I think of Spanx, right? I would say very similar. It's like I think of Virgin and Richard Branson, the same. When I think about certain sports teams, I think about their lead quarterback or their lead player just as much as I think about the team. And here's what we find too, is that just as often people follow people more than they do even companies or sports teams, right? I think some of the great examples of that happening all across the sports industry is the amount of money, specifically in the soccer world, of when you see a Leo Messi, right, leaving Barcelona and going to PSG, the amount of money they were willing to pay for a player was extraordinary. The largest contract at that time until Cristiano Ronaldo was extraordinary because they know fans follow players even more than they follow teams. So they were willing to spend it and then immediately got their ROI back almost in the first 24 hours when more than $10 million came in just apparel sales in 24 hours. That's because they know, right? Some of the biggest drafts right now have much to do with how big is your following. When you look at the name, image, likeness, NIL in collegiate sports, the reason these individuals are able to get this sort of brand dollars is because they have established followers, right? They will go where these individuals go. It's no different for me and you with our businesses. Because at the end of the day, ultimately what Americans said is that they consider a personal brand as someone who is simply recognizable to them. So who are you recognizable to? Or who do you want to be recognizable to? This is about trust. Personal branding, marketing today, it's about trust. And this is something really important, is that the higher the requirement for trust, the more important having an established personal brand becomes. When you think about the people that you expect trust out of, I think of doctors, right? It's like if I'm going to entrust my life to you, my health to you, I better have a high level of trust, right? Just getting a personal referral is no longer good enough. That's step one. Then I'm going to go and verify that referral because I'm going to look you up and I'm going to go, what do you have out there? What can I learn about you? Who are you, right? Who's your family? Those are things that it's important to me. Same thing. I think about that with employers. I think about that with attorneys, with my freedom, right? I think about that with my financial services provider, right? That's my security. That's my money, right? I think about those things in all these different aspects of the higher the requirement for trust, the more important it becomes for you to have an established personal brand. Now, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you guys may or may not agree with on for me today, but here's one thing that I think we could all agree on is that it does not matter what you do and how good you are at it. If people don't know about you, they simply cannot do business with you. So here begs the question, how do you become the number one go-to person for what you do? Fill in the blank. How do you become synonymous with what it is that you want to be known for? Ultimately, in this conversation, helping you drive products and services, drive revenues, drive retention, whatever it may be. But how do you become known for that one thing where you don't have to do as much outbound prospecting, cold calling, advertising, marketing, that people come to you because there is a constant stream of referrals and leads of everyone going, oh man, I just heard you say that you got to meet my friend AJ. You got to meet this company, Brand Builders Group. It's because you have made it so clear what you do and what you want to be known for that other people can think about it just as quickly as you can. So there are 3 things that we're going to talk about to help you do just that. So part 1, we're going to spend just about 5 minutes in each of these sections. This is the first question that you have to answer for yourself in today's world of personal branding. And this is both online and offline, right? But this is step 1. What do you want to be known for? And that is a deeper question than just writing something down in this very short conversation that we're having today. But do you know what you want to be known for, personally and or professionally? And the truth is, and the challenge is that most of us have not spent nearly enough time thinking about this question. I bet most of us have become known for what you do more than who you are. I bet most of us have spent more time thinking about how to grow your business than how to grow your reputation. I also bet that most of us are associated with something that you have become good at, something that you are successful at, more than something that you are or have. In other words, by accident, by default, you have become known for something that was not intentional, that maybe you don't even care to be known for. And without clarity and intention, that happens to all of us. Right? So here are 6 questions that I will just give to you. You can screenshot these. Also happy to send this PowerPoint as a PDF out to anyone who wants it. I'm sure Petra could take care of that. Now, but these are 6 questions to help tailor that in. And these are not to do right now. These are to take with you because they do require thinking and planning and conversation. The first one I already shared is simply, what do you want to be known for? Second, how do you want to be remembered? When you're not around, what do you want people to say about you? Number 3, what do people say about you when you're not around in the current sense, right? Not the after death sense, but in current sense, like if I get up from the table and I go to the restroom, what do people say about me in my absence? After I leave this webinar, what will you say about me? What will you think about? And that is everything I do comes with intention. Like I want you to know that my family comes before my business. My kids and my husband are just as much a part of my business as my employees, my teams, and my clients. I want you to know that I have 2 kids and a husband as much as I want you to know what my business does. Those are intentional, crafted things that I want you to know about me, that I want you to think of when you think of me. That may not be for you, but these things happen with clarity and intention. So what do you want people to say when you're not around? Next one, how do you want to be introduced? Without giving an introduction to someone, your bio, how would you want them to introduce you? And I would just encourage you, pay attention to that in the future when you're at your next networking event or company meeting or party or social event at church, at a T-ball game, wherever you are. Pay attention to how people introduce you, how they naturally associate you, how they naturally think of you, and just jot it down. Just pay attention. And is it what you want? Next one, what do you want to be associated with? Is it your business? Is it your family? Is it both? Is it what you do or who you are? What do you want to be associated with? And then ultimately, what do you want people to think of when they think of you? What do you want people to think of when they think of you? I'll give you a 2-minute version of my professional history. See, I fell into entrepreneurship. Starting a company was my first job out of college because, I had so much experience at the ripe age of 21. But myself and my now husband, who started as my business partner, my childhood best friend, and another gentleman, all started a company, a sales training company when I was 21. And by the grace of God and the goodness of naivety, we were able to grow that company extremely quickly. We did 7 figures in our first year in the middle of a recession in 2006. Luckily, we didn't know what a recession was. So there was no preconceived notions. That quickly grew to a 8-figure company with over 200 team members. I was getting the opportunity to fly around the world, paid for, sitting in Fortune 100 company boardrooms, making insights and giving advice that I had no right to be giving, and getting paid for it. It seemingly was spectacular. I was making more money than I ever thought I would, traveling the world and getting paid to do it. And I had no friends, no personal life, no time outside of work. It was a pride point to work 80 hours a week. Anything outside of that was weakness, and it was frowned upon in our company. Now, I'm not saying that's anyone else's fault. I'll take full ownership of that. But I lost who I was. I missed every birthday party, wedding, baby shower, pretty much for a decade. And I'll tell you what I had become accidentally known for was a sales consultant. That's not who I was. That was what I did. And I gave my entire life to building this company. We had investors, and it was awesome until it wasn't. until I didn't want to be there anymore, but I didn't have the courage to leave. One, because I was super comfortable making tons of money, but also at that point, we had recruited a team of almost 200 coaches. And I felt a lot of obligation and a lot of guilt that I can't leave. I made commitments and promises here. I can't leave. And I was called into a routine budget meeting, and I left that budget meeting unemployed on May 4th of 2018. Completely unexpected. It was dramatic and traumatic all at the same time, but it's because I didn't have the courage to do what I know I should have done years before, which was leave, because I was no longer doing things for the right reasons or the right way. It had become about money, pride, ego, and ambition. I had completely lost myself. And regardless of your beliefs, your religion, your faith, I have a very strong faith. And to me, I was saved that day. I believe God intervened on my behalf and said, you didn't have the courage to do it, so I'm stepping in and I'm doing it for you. But here's the crazy thing is that after that happened, only 2 days after that happened, on May 6th, a gentleman who's got a very well-known podcast called the School of Greatness podcast, a gentleman named Lewis Howes called us and said, I don't know why, but for months, you and your husband, you guys keep coming up to me. And I'm just stuck with what I'm doing. And I keep getting this prompt that maybe you can help. And that was the beginning of Brand Builders Group. And you see, here's the thing, is that I had been working towards all the wrong things. I was comfortable. I needed a whole bunch of heart change. But what really needed to happen is I needed to step in to my calling, to the things that I know I should have been doing. Sometimes we get to do that voluntarily. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes they are forced upon us, but that doesn't make the path any less important. Either way you go, the path is hard to do the things that you know you feel called to do, even when you don't feel equipped to do them. And in my case, my comfort was holding me back from my calling. What I wanted to be known for, what I wanted to be associated with, those are all things that I knew deep down, but didn't have the courage to do it on the surface. So I was playing it safe, I was playing it comfortable, and I was completely being held back from the calling that I believe that I have now stepped into at this company, who is growing at accelerated rates, not because of us, but because of the people we serve. And in fact, as you're thinking about who you want to be known by and what you want to be known for, I would encourage you to remember this quote by our good friend Larry Winget, who said, the number one goal in business is to just simply find your uniqueness and then exploit it in the service of other people. Not for your benefit, but for their benefit. As long as you continue, and I love one of the things that Zig Ziglar said, as long as you continue to help people get what they want, you will always get what you want. But you can only really step into that once you're very clear on, what do I want to be known for? That becomes your best marketing asset. It's your best sales tool on the company. It's for people to naturally associate you with the thing that you want to be associated with. That is word of mouth marketing. And we all know that's the most powerful marketing. A referral is so much greater than a cold lead from an ad, and we all know it. But are people sending you business because they think of you at the moment they think of what you do? So step one is to simply know, what do you want to be known for? It is one of the best marketing tools that you will ever have. Second is to get super crystal clear, unbelievably granular on who you want to be known by. Who do you want to be known by? Now, here are 3 things that I know that are going to come up at some point in this conversation, specifically here, that I know are on most people's minds at this point in my presentation. And number 1, people are going, okay, well, this, what do I want to be known for thing? I get it. But who do I want to be known by? It's like, yeah, I've done these exercises. I know who my core target audience is. And I'm like, maybe, but you really can't know who you want to be known by until you know what you want to be known for. And these are the 3 things that I know pop up at some point in this conversation. Number 1 is they go, this personal branding thing seems interesting, but honestly, I'm not down with it because I don't want to come across as self-promotional, right? I don't want to constantly be telling people who I am and what I'm doing. And I don't want it to seem all about me. And I would just encourage you is that if it feels self-promotional, then you're doing it wrong. That's not how it's supposed to be. So don't be self-promotional. This isn't about you. It's about them. It's not about talking about who you are. It's about talking about who you serve, which is ultimately who you want to be known by. Second thing is that people say, do I really have something to say? Do I really have something new to add to the conversation? It's like everybody else is out there. Everyone's talking about this. What do I really have to say? And I would just give a bit of encouragement of no one can say it the way that you can, because they're not you. No one has said it the way that you will. Tons of people talk about personal branding and digital marketing, but they don't say it the way that I do because they don't have my stories. They don't have my experience or expertise. I appeal to a certain audience. I don't appeal to another audience. That's okay. I have to be okay with that because I know exactly who I'm meant to serve and who I want to be known by. And the clearer I am on that, the less I care about the people who don't fit into those boxes. And then number 3, it's ultimately what holds people back from really building their personal brand, really putting it out there, really letting people know what they want to be known for. What really holds people back is they are afraid that people won't like them, or they're going to get canceled. In today's world of the cancel culture, they go, well, what if I say it wrong? What if they don't like me? What if they don't agree with me? What if they don't like what I say or do or think or believe? What if this causes all my clients to leave? What if they hate me? Like, what if this ruins my business? And y'all, the truth is, haters are going to hate. Of course, people aren't going to like you just as much as people will. It's about knowing who your audience is. When you ask yourself the question, who should I serve? Who should I serve? Who should I serve? The haters become less relevant. And what becomes way more relevant is a focus and intention on appealing and serving to the audience that you are meant to serve, that you know you can help like no one else can. But we spend too much time thinking about the what, the where, the why, the how. And what we're asking you to do is to think about the who. The rest of those things will fall into place once you know the who. And what we say is that if you don't know who the who is exactly, most of the time, you are most powerfully positioned to serve the person that you once were. So if you're not entirely clear, crystal clear on who that person is that you should be going after, then reflect back on, well, who is the person that you once were a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe still are today, but you have a calling to help someone in your position right where you are today. And you have the tools and capabilities to do that. The goal in all of this, when it comes to doing personal branding right, is you make it way less about you and way more about them. This is not about ego, pride, self-promotion, vanity. It's not about that. It's about serving. It's about living your life's calling. It's about filling your work with purpose and intention, and then doing that with other people. And when you do it that way, people do send you business. They do associate you with certain things. Even I think as man, like whatever it is they do, I know they're going to do it well, right? I know that you can trust this person. They are a person of integrity. Those things matter. Those things matter. Third question you should be asking is, well, then how do I make a bigger impact? Right? So step 1 is, what do I want to be known for? Step 2 is, who do I want to be known by? And then step 3 is, well, how do I make a bigger impact with these people? Like, how do I do that? Ultimately, there are 3 ways to build trust in today's environment. Specifically, I'm talking online here, but it also applies to offline. Number 1 is people have to be able to see you. They have to be able to see you consistently, regularly. They have to be able to see you, AKA find you. Like I said, this applies offline too. If you're just hiding in your home office behind your screen all day, you're doing it wrong. At the end of the day, at some point, we need to come behind screens and we need to shake hands, break bread, and meet people in real life again, right? That is a huge part of building trust. It's the humanity aspect. But they got to be able to see you regularly and consistently, which ultimately, the more they see you, the more they get to know you. That is equally as important. And here's what I would say today. I don't care who you are. This is true. People care so much more about who you are than they do what you do. In fact, one of our clients is a very well-known podcaster, blogger, course creator, and now New York Times bestselling author named Amy Porterfield. And she just gave a speech, and I thought this was so timely. And she said, I have been doing this business for over 12 years. I have posted thousands of podcasts, produced thousands of blogs. I've made millions of dollars in course sales. I have done video after video, content after content. And for the first time ever, last week, I had a video go viral. And she said, and you want me to tell you what that video was of? It was of her husband growing a beard. And the first image was him clean shaven. And it had a really funny song in the background, Oh Baby, Oh Baby. And the next picture was him with just a little mustache and a little fuzz. And the next one was a full grown beard with this funny song in the background and the evolution of her husband's beard. And after a dozen years, thousands of content, she went viral for the first time with her husband's beard growing process. The point of that is people care about the personal parts of your life, the normal, the mundane, the who you are things, how you live, who you live with, what you do. I could post a million content videos, and I promise you, every single time that I let people have a sneak peek into my heart, into my life, into my family, it gets 10 times the likes, the comments, the shares, the engagement, because that's what people can relate to. People need to have things in common with you. They need to find natural common ground. So people need to see you. They need to get to know you. And yes, in addition to the fun, social, personal parts, they also need to be able to learn from you. This is the content piece, but you can't do the content piece and expect people to really get to know you if you don't have the personal piece. You have to have both pieces. So see you, know you, learn from you. And like I said, online and offline. I'm not going to talk about these in depth because online, there are so many places that you could go. And I think you go where your audience is. You don't go where the, competition goes. You don't go where it's comfortable for you. No, you go where your audience is, which you can do once you're crystal clear on exactly who they are, right? So to me, it doesn't matter what platform you do it on. The formula is the same, which is produce content, valuable content consistently. It's somewhat simple, and it does not have to be on every platform. I think that's almost impossible to keep up with unless it's your full-time job, unless that is what you are, a content creator. You pick the platform that your audience lives and you go all in. Maybe it's one, maybe it's two, but you create valuable content and you do it consistently. That's the key. And it takes time. It just takes time. But honestly, what takes less time is the offline part, right? The humanity part. So 2 things that'll help you to continue to get to know me if you so desire is if you truly want to get to know me, I'm going to drive you to Instagram. That's where you're going to really get to know me. I will be honest, you will not learn a ton about me on Instagram when it comes to my business. I don't talk a ton about personal branding there. I post podcasts, but this is a place where I'm like, you want to know my heart. You want to know who I am. You want to know if we align, if we share values. This is where you go. Right? So if you want to figure that out, if you want to follow me and see what kind of crazy Halloween costumes we're wearing or what we're doing, what T-ball game is winning, this is where you can do that. You're going to get to know me. But if you want to learn from me, right? Because you got to see me, you got to get to know me. And then you also need to have a chance to learn from me. That's what my podcast is for. All right. If you really want to learn personal branding, entrepreneurship, leadership, marketing in today's world in terms of personal branding, then go to the Influential Personal Brand podcast. You will get completely separate content there than you will in my Instagram, because one is to help you get to know me. The other one is to help you learn from me, because we know that today's world, both of those are equally important. Again, both offline and online. Now, when it comes to offline, I said this is done faster. This is done quicker because the more that somebody can see you in real life, again, shaking hands, hugging, kissing babies, doing all the things, that trust is happens expeditiously faster. That's just it, right? Now, there are so many more options offline than there are online. And this is just a very short list. right? That's column one. There's another list here, right? This is good old-fashioned sales, right? This is old-fashioned marketing, which is get out there, be in the networking meetings, go to the associations, have a coaching group, be in a mastermind, do all the things. Do all the things that maybe you haven't been doing in a while, but I promise you, those are equally as important to the online part. In fact, if I was going to be really honest with you, which I'm going to be, is that our business has grown because of our offline relationships, not our online business, right? We're a personal branding firm. We teach social media. We have podcasts. We do all the things. But if you really want to know how our business has grown the way that it has in the last 5 years, it's because of the time and energy that we have invested in offline relationships that are now paying fruits in an online sense. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a second. But this matters. The offline parts, sales, having people see you, get to know you in person matters. And I know there's a lot of things on this list, and one that you're like, are you kidding me? Standing in line, you really have that on here? I sure do. So I want to introduce you to a rule that I call the 6-foot rule, which has a lot to do with what you want to be known for and who you want to be known by. And at the end of the day, making a bigger impact. And so this is a different 6-foot rule than the one that you have become accustomed to during COVID and the pandemic. This is not stay 6 feet away from people. This is a different one. This is a 6-foot rule that I employ for myself, and I will just share it with you, is that I have to be willing, have to be convicted even to share what I do, be willing to talk about what I do with anyone who is within 6 feet of me. That is my personal commitment, is that if you are within 6 feet of me and the opportunity arises, you will most definitely learn a little bit about me and a little bit about what I do and what I believe, because they are the same. Brand Builders Group and personal branding isn't just a company. It's not a job. I believe this is my calling, right? This is what I am meant to do. I am convicted in it. I am passionate about it. So it bubbles up in any sort of conversations. And I'll give you just one quick example of just a reminder of, don't forget, your next best customer might be in front of your line at Starbucks. They may be sitting on the bleachers next to you at a sporting event. You just don't know. And it's time to engage. But I was recently, Mother's Day, not this Mother's Day, last Mother's Day. I told my family what I wanted for Mother's Day. I said, I want you to take me to the Bahamas. So that's what they did. So we are at the Bahamas, and my husband has our 2 kids at the water park. And I am walking to a little shack to get some waters, lemonades, and some virgin daiquiris for the kids. In front of me is a dad who has 4 little girls and has an entire tray of drinks, tropical drinks, cocktails, all kinds of stuff. And it is hot. We are sunburned. We are sweaty, covered in sunscreen at a water park, right? And so he looks back at me and he goes, you having a good day? I said, I am. I said, are you? And a way of going, you must be, because you've got like 14 drinks on that tray. And he said, yeah, we've been here for a few days, just came in from Florida. Where are you from? And I said, well, I'm in from Nashville. He said, Nashville. Oh, you must be a country singer. No, I can't carry a tune. I'm the worst musically inclined person on the planet. He goes, are you an actress? Nope, can't act, don't act, not me. He goes, what are you doing in Nashville? And I said, well, I have a personal branding company. I help entrepreneurs build their personal brand. And he says, no shoot. Well, he said the other word, but he said, no kidding. I'm an entrepreneur. And I said, really? I said, well, we help people like you learn how to go out and get speaking engagements, launch podcasts, do content creation. And ultimately, we help you build your reputation to generate more leads. He said, you've got to be kidding. I just got invited to speak at all these franchise groups. He goes, I've got 53 restaurant franchises all over Florida. I've been invited to speak to these groups about how I did this. And I said, yeah, that's what we do. We help people like you do that. He said, no kidding. I said, no, I'm for real. Do you have your phone? Pull out your phone, go to www.brandbuildersgroup.com, go to this page about us, scroll down. You see that woman right there? I know it doesn't look like me, but that's me, same person. He goes, no kidding. I said, right below there, there's a button, says request a free call. So if you really want to learn about what we do and how we can help you, click that button. You can get a free call with my team. He said, I'm doing it. Right now, do I know if he did it and followed through? I don't. It doesn't matter. I am convicted that what we do matters. So I will talk about it, and I will tell anyone within 6 feet of me about it. You have to be the same way, because I'm clear on what I want to be known for and who I want to be known by. And I am passionate about doing that with people that we're meant to serve. So I don't care. If you're within 6 feet of me, you're going to get an earful. It's the 6-foot rule. Because you see, it doesn't matter. The formula is the same. It doesn't matter if it's online or offline. The formula is the same, which is provide value, build trust, repeat. Provide value, build trust, repeat. Now, I mentioned earlier that our company was started and I would say in the middle of a crisis, truly, after I was fired from our majority shareholder from the company that I started, that we founded, and that I gave 13 years of my life to, more so than made sense. But Brand Builders was built because of this gentleman right here, had a prompting because of the offline equity that we had built in our relationship. You see, Lewis had met my husband when my husband launched his first book, which is called Take the Stairs. And Rory was on his podcast. And then when Lewis launched his first book, we said, we're happy to help share what we learned. We did a huge book launch. We hit #2 in the New York Times. We're happy to share with you what we learned because we did a lot of it wrong. We did some things right and it worked. So we did that years before. Lewis wasn't a good friend at this time. He said, but I remember you helped me then. And I just thought maybe you could help me again. We said, well, conveniently for you, we have a lot of time on our calendar. If you want to fly out to Nashville, we're happy to see if we can help. So he did. Less than a week after I was fired and my husband resigned from our company, he flew out and we spent 2 days with Lewis. At the end of those 2 days, he said, guys, this is your new business. This is why this has happened. You got to let me help you. He said, if you can come up with a business plan and be out in LA in 2 weeks, I'd love to introduce your new company to my mastermind. I said, we don't have a new company. This isn't what we do. This isn't like our business. Like we don't have a company, Lewis. And he said, well, just think about it. So for 2 weeks, we did. We thought about it. We planned, we prayed. And the truth is we'd already been doing this. We'd been doing this for ourselves and we'd been doing this without getting paid for it for years. This was our calling. Working with authors, speakers, coaches, consultants, that's what's our passion. That's who we were. It's what we did. And so we said, well, we've kind of put some frameworks together of what we've done and how we think we can help. So Rory, I had a 9-month-old at the time. Rory flew out to LA and spoke at that mastermind. We sold our first 2 clients. We didn't even have a way to collect money. We said, just write your credit card down on this piece of paper. It's real secure, and I'll process it when we get home. That's how this started. And then Lewis said, y'all, I believe in you so much that I want to launch this on the podcast. But here's the point, right? It's like, that didn't just happen, right? It's because we had spent years building offline relationships. We had offline reputation that meant something to someone like Lewis, who is willing to go, I have known you for years. You have helped me without any idea of how this would ever be paid back to you. He goes, I know you can help people because you helped me. So let me help you now. And we launched our non-business on his website on July 27th, 2018, 2 months after I got fired, with no website, no social media, no podcast, no email list. We had a white landing page with my picture and my husband's picture with a little button that said, request a call here. Clearly, we must have looked real credible on this fancy personal branding page. But that's what we had. That's all we had time for, to whip together in order to launch. And because of that offline reputation that we had with Lewis, and because of his trusted reputation that he had with millions of online followers through his podcast, because of his consistent effort in providing valuable content and our consistent effort of building a relationship offline, we launched our business on July 27th. And over the next 90 days, we generated 1,000 leads from one podcast interview and an unstylized landing page with no website, no email list, no social media, no podcast, because of a trusted relationship that we had with Lewis and the trusted relationship that he had with his subscribers and his followers. And we generated $500,000 in the first 6 months. And that's how we exited our last company and started our new company, which is how this company is still here today. Now, and I share that with you because it's important to know that at the end of the day, it is so much more important than who you are, is so much more important than just what you do. And it's because of those relationships that were built, because we knew that we had something to share that we know what we wanted to be known for, we knew who we could serve, that we were able to make a bigger impact, right? That is the heart of building a personal brand. And where people get caught up today is thinking that somehow I have to have millions of followers to do this. No, you don't. You don't have to have millions of followers to make millions of dollars. I know you know that. And that you have to have a beautifully designed websites and landing pages. You can, but you don't have to. You can have an unstylized landing page and make an incredible difference when you have trust. And that happens both offline and online. And that is how you take personal branding as your number one marketing asset to grow your business, grow your revenue, and increase retention. So we have officially got like 5 minutes left here. I will see if there's any questions in the chat. Happy to answer them. Also happy to make this PowerPoint available, and I'll make sure the Petra team sends it out.
Yeah, AJ, absolutely. Thank you so much. That content was phenomenal. My marketing mind is nerding out right now. Thank you guys all for attending. You will receive a recap in the next 24 hours. That includes those mentioned resources and then a link to rewatch the webinar and share it with your team. So thanks, AJ, for offering those slides for us. Be sure to check out petracoach.com and click the events tab to see all of the other events like this that are coming up. You can also look at some of our previous ones. And as always, if you have any further questions or we can provide some additional help, please reach out at info@petracoach.com. So if there aren't any questions, AJ, thank you so much for being with us today. And thanks for the great content.
My pleasure. Everyone have a great day.